Good Friday afternoon to you. It's 4 o'clock. Time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend is off to a good start. Plenty to talk about. Browns news, some of the offense out in the Bahamas. We'll get a look at that. Also some Guardians news. Looks like Jose Ramirez will be in the starting lineup tonight as they get ready to open up a weekend series against Tigers. We will head out to Progressive Field, talk with Mark Munch Bishop. But we begin by talking Browns. Deshaun Watson and a good chunk of the Browns offense out in the Bahamas and actually enjoying it. Let's take a look as Nick Chubb from Instagram showing us where exactly they're staying. It looks like it's a resort kind of thing. Atlantis in the Bahamas. Very nice. Donovan Peoples-Jones also kind of sharing some of the sights of where the Browns offense is getting together for some team bonding as well as a little bit of work on the football field. And with that, let's welcome in Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. So, Mac, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on out in the Bahamas. Team bonding, team building, a focus. Bahamas a pretty nice place to start that out, huh?
Yeah, Dave, I reached out to my boss and tried to see if I could get sent out, a little bit of a part-timer getting sent out there, but unfortunately I wasn't in the budget. But, for Deshaun Watson, he can afford it with the $230 million guaranteed. But at the same time, for him, getting a chance to kind of get a feel for all of his teammates, get an understanding of, what kind of leadership style works for them and kind of getting an understanding of what did they respond well to while also out there and kind of getting a better understanding for all of these guys, I think sets them up better and sets them up well, especially. But for him, it's also just kind of showing that camaraderie. And, we've seen that, not just in the NFL, but, how I go back and think back to, in 2016 when the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were a little bit up and down, throughout that season. But once they ended up trading for Channing Frye at that trade deadline, you all of a sudden started to see everything kind of fall into place once they had that, off the field and off the court camaraderie kind of take shape. So at least with Deshaun Watson, getting an early sense of that and getting an early start on that before, you even get into mandatory mini camps and you get into training camp, I think that really gives Watson a good head start, especially with his offensive teammates.
Okay, the other thing that we are learning, Deshaun Watson, pretty good golfer as well. Some people were giving me grief about this a little bit earlier, but take a look at this putt. It's about 20, 25 yards. And look at
Turn over.
Get in there. Hits the green perfectly. And again, people were giving us a little bit of grief, giving me a little bit of grief. How can I don't know if I like the fact that he's that good of a golfer. It's what these guys do.
I mean, it's the offseason. What else are they going to do at this point? Like, come on, they have to have a little bit of a golf game. And out of anything, I'm happy my quarterback has that kind of accuracy, not just on the football field, but, hey, on the golf course, too. I mean, just the way he's able to read the green like he's reading a defense, it looks great out there. So, a hell of a putt, at least for him, but and certainly a hell of a lot better than myself than I could ever pull off. But, at that point, again, just really love to see that kind of, those kinds of activities, because at that point, that's kind of what ends up leading to that team bonding.
All right, so the offense is in the Bahamas. A couple of the rookies on the defensive side of the ball, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Greg Newsome. We're talking to Sean Crawford, St. Edward Eagle, Notre Dame guy, played with JOK on his Varsity House podcast. Topic of Deshaun Watson came up. Here's what the Browns' two rookies last year, so second-year guys on the defensive side of the ball, said about the new quarterback.
Well, first and foremost, as a person, we was one of the first people who we met with here.
Yeah, y'all took the little picture.
His first day here, I think. I think that was the first day.
Yep.
We had went to the stadium, had dinner, whatever. So, mad cool, mad official. Talk about a lot about team leadership, and he got understand that heavy. You just talk to him a little bit, and he kind of is telling you the small principles and team chemistry and team building. And, he looking to take the guys, to a place right now, the offense. I think they're getting together and they about to, go on a little trip or whatever.
Bahamas or something.
Yeah. And stuff like that, is very, very, important when you talk about, the small stuff or even the big stuff within, a team chemistry. And I think that's unique, bro.
Nah, he gonna be that dude for real. Just off that, just like we said, first thing he asks is, what did y'all do last year? What didn't y'all do? What do y'all want to incorporate?
Really.
obviously it's not college. Like, you ain't got to hang out with the people.
All day.
But, like, if you have a respect for somebody and you, like, have a love for somebody, you're going to play harder. Like, you got to have that team. You got to have that team bond. That's like with the Patriots when they was winning so much. Like, they team didn't change that much.
And again, you like hearing the young guys immediately gravitate towards the veteran quarterback. His issues off the field are his issues, but in the locker room, you got to be able to bring people together.
Dave, it's funny that you bring that up. And you know me, I was a supporter of Baker, but they turned on a dime. They especially, and I know Greg Newsome's used to that as a cornerback, but the fact that, again, just day one and it's immediately, hey, what do you like? What did you guys do last year? What worked? What do you guys want to see more of? That's what you want to see from a guy who's not only a leader in your locker room, but a leader of your franchise as well. So, getting a chance to understand kind of how he operates and adjusting what he does to, what these guys, and especially with them being the younger voices in that locker room, but still being able to produce very well, being able to incorporate all of that in, I love to hear that. And also, I gotta just say too, I love the fit, the matching sweatshirt hoodie and the sweatpants out of Newsome. I love that touch. But out of anything, just the way that JOK and Newsome talked about them and talked about how he operates as a leader, I think really speaks volumes about Watson.
I agree. And again, that's Varsity House podcast. Sean Crawford, a local guy, St. Ed's grad. Apologies to the St. Ignatius grad I'm talking to, but he was a player, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. We've heard that side of the story with Deshaun Watson. The off-the-field stuff isn't going away anytime soon. Ed Galick from Fox I-Team and numerous national people now reporting it as well. The NFL want to meet again with Deshaun Watson next week. And it's likely on Tuesday when they will meet after they had met this week. Mac, again, we're reading tea leaves, but you never ask for it. It's usually not a good sign when you want a second meeting that close to the first meeting. It means something else has come to light, or they're going to tell you what's coming down the pike. Yeah,
and that's the biggest concern because, Dave, you and I have talked about this, both on the air and off the air as well. But, I feel like when it comes to this Watson suspension, for the longest time, I've been thinking that, they'll push it off until 2023. They'll wait until this entire process plays out, and then they'll make their ruling. But especially after, Josina Anderson was reporting on it earlier in the week, and then especially with the NFL wanting to meet with them again, and with this also coming after some possible appearances when it comes to TV of the accusers. You never know what could come out of that. And the NFL, they are always mindful of the PR side of it. And so, they haven't been afraid to, rule multiple times in the past. I know double jeopardy is a thing in the Constitution, but the NFL clearly has shown that, hey, you know what? We're not going based on the law here. We're going based on our rules. And so, at this point, it wouldn't shock me if they suspend him for a good portion of this year. And then, hey, if something comes to light later on, they'll go ahead and enforce that later on as well.
Yeah, there will be the opportunity to revisit it after the civil cases are heard. But it certainly sounds like they're going to do something this year based on the NFL's code of conduct. You alluded to this. This is from Jonathan Jones' Twitter. Multiple of the accusers will sit down with Soledad O'Brien, and that will be part of HBO's Real Sports. Bryant Gumbel hosts that. That is set to come out early next week, Tuesday episode of HBO's Real Sports, a really good investigative thing. So it will be interesting to see what comes out of that as well.
Yeah, and that's the one thing is that, as these cases have been kind of going along, and especially over the last few weeks, it seems like we've been getting more and more information, more and more momentum towards a decision here coming from the NFL. And so I feel like they kind of want to go ahead and, nip this in the bud as quick as possible because, the NFL doesn't want to be kind of let this hang over like a dark cloud over the league and especially, over the Browns as well. I think the Browns want to have, some kind of a decision that way they can go ahead and plan things out. They can go from here. But at the same point, too, I do think that with all of this kind of ramping up more and more and more, and with this second meeting from the NFL, I do think that, we're going to be heading towards a decision here, I think, soon. Now, how soon, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that the NFL, while at times they have dragged their feet, I think that with a situation similar to this and of this magnitude, I do think that they want to go ahead and try to take care of this as quick as possible.
Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we will continue to talk Browns, get into the Baker Mayfield situation just a little bit. Sports4CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Browns quarterback situation.
Hey, long-time fan, first-time caller. I just have a hypothetical question. Let's say that Deshaun Watson is suspended for the whole season. And let's say Baker kind of swallows his pride, sucks it up, and shows up and balls out and starts for us next season and just balls out. Takes us to the Super Bowl. Now, do you think that it would be hard on the Browns to now release him if he was to take us that far? I just kind of want to know what you guys think about that. All right, thanks. Bye.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Mac, the one thing is 1 year released on his, or 1 year remaining on his contract. He does that. He set himself up for a multi-year contract at big money. He wouldn't be re-signing with the Browns.
Yeah, I was going to say, in that scenario, they don't do anything. They just let him walk. And, I think that in that case, the best thing for the Browns is that you're getting a compensatory pick regardless. At that point, if he walks, and especially at that kind of a salary, I don't think that it matters, who else they end up signing. They're going to be in so much of a clear area to re-sign players that it's not going to matter for the supplementary or the compensatory pick math. I think that they're going to get a third-round pick out of that. So, I think that if you go ahead and look at the way that this is kind of played out, and at least in this scenario, I don't see a way where Baker ends up coming back. I don't see a situation where, the Browns end up – I don't see them releasing him just because of that fact as well. They have a set number, sure, and maybe that they'll eat some money for him to go elsewhere. But, in this case, if he were to just come back to Cleveland and in this situation, go to the Super Bowl with him, I think that he's setting himself up for getting guaranteed money elsewhere. But you also have enough guaranteed money that he's probably going to end up getting less guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson's going to make, period. So, I think that for Baker Mayfield, it's going to be congratulations, good job, thank you for what you did, but you know what, enjoy your next stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And along those lines, Mike Lombardi, former front office executive around the league as well as here, talked about the whole Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson situation. This is courtesy of the GM Shuffle.
I can't really speculate. Do I think 4? Yeah. Do I think 8? Perhaps. I mean, Brady got suspended 4 games for they never even proved he messed with the footballs. I mean, and they fined the team $1 million and took away a draft pick. I mean, who can predict based on no evidence what the league could come up with? But to me, I think that there's 2 factors here. Do I think he gets suspended? Yeah. Do I know how long? No. Do I think Baker Mayfield fits in for him at quarterback while he's suspended? I mean, that's a joke that people actually think you can't do that. Like, that's a comedy. Like, stop with that. They're not holding Baker Mayfield because they're worried about Watson. They're holding Baker Mayfield because they don't want to have to pay the $18 million. They can't bring Baker Mayfield into that building and then have Watson in the building at the same time. It just won't work. It just won't work. They have the cap room, but it won't work from a chemistry standpoint on your football team.
It's probably a very valid point.
And you know what? I don't normally agree with Michael Lombardi, but here I am. And, I look at what he said, and especially you look at how Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry have worked in tandem over the last couple of years. The way that they handle everything is, okay, we're not going to have a difference in quarterback, if we go from A to B to C, and in our depth chart, all these quarterbacks are going to be, relatively similar in play style. That's why last year you had Baker as your QB1. You had Case Keenum as your QB2, and then you also had Nick Mullins as your QB3. So with all of that playing out, they had a very similar play style. That way you don't really need to change your offense. Look at what they've done already in this offseason. You've seen them bring in Deshaun Watson, obviously, then go ahead and bring in Jacoby Brissett, who's going to be your backup, and then they brought in Josh Dobbs, somebody who is very understanding when it comes to his football knowledge, and obviously rocket scientists in college and everything like that. So the guy's smart. But with that being said, they all play relatively similar. Obviously, Watson is somebody who, is in that upper echelon, obviously, and there's a drop-off from him to Brissett. But at the same time, they're all quarterbacks who can move around a little bit, relatively operate in the pocket, and, have a little bit of mobility to, avoid some of those defenders. And so, you look at how all those players operate, I think that they're looking at those similar skill sets. That's why you brought in Jacoby Brissett. That's why you brought in Josh Dobbs. And Baker Mayfield, by comparison, you have to operate differently as an offense. And so I think that you have Baker come in. I think that it leads to just a difference in how you operate that offense. I just don't see how that kind of plays out. I can see them basically saying, look, we'll pay you. You just stay home and sit on your couch. I don't care if you come in. So just go ahead, get your pay, whatever, but you're not going to come in and play for us.
Along those lines, Peter King talking about the landscape for free agents and the likes in the NFL right now. And this is from NBC Sports Pro Football Talk.
If I were Baker Mayfield, I'd want to be a free agent. But if I was a free agent, I wouldn't be signing right now. I wouldn't. I would not sign with anyone. I'd wait until either somebody got hurt or Labor Day weekend. And if somebody then wanted me at minimum salary or whatever as a number 3 quarterback for the time being, I'd go. But there's no sense right now in going to a place that doesn't want him.
And Mac, you can extrapolate that to say, if you're Andrew Berry, that's exactly what you're waiting for to trade him.
Great minds think alike, Dave. I was going to say the same thing because, again, you look at Sam Bradford. Look at what happened back in 2016. You had Carson Wentz, that new draft pick that was coming in. You thought that Sam Bradford was going to start the season. They say, you know what, let's just go with Carson Wentz. He can start the season. We'll trade off of Sam Bradford. What did they expect? Did they expect Teddy Bridgewater to blow out his knee and completely put his career into a tailspin? No, they didn't. But that ended up happening, and that ended up playing out so that Sam Bradford was traded there for a first-round draft pick that they ended up, they didn't keep Sam Bradford in the long haul. They ended up going for somebody like Kirk Cousins, who they're still rolling with at this point. So keeping that in mind, like you said, if I'm Andrew Berry, why am I waiting? Why am I going to release him right now? If the situations aren't clear right now, why not go ahead and wait until after the preseason? And here's the best part, because if you look at that year when Sam Bradford was traded, there were still the 4 games when you had in the preseason. Now you have that extra bye, that extra week to go ahead and trade for somebody in that case. If you want to trade for somebody like a Baker Mayfield, give him 2 weeks to go ahead and get acclimated with your offense, and you now understand where you're at. So now you have that extra time for negotiations and extra time for trades that these teams can go ahead and do. So, if I'm Andrew Berry, like you said, I'm not dealing him right now unless I'm getting exactly what I want. And at that point, once we get to that Labor Day weekend, that's when I think you could see a move come down.
Along those lines, Jeff Howe from The Athletic reports that the Panthers and the Seahawks have not ruled out acquiring Baker Mayfield. They'll need the Browns to take a much greater portion of the contract than they've offered at this point. But again, let's wait and see. From the Browns' perspective, Mac, it's got to be, let's see how they really like having Sam Darnold or Drew Lock run their offense. Let's let them see what that looks like day in and day out, and then see how much they're willing to absorb of Baker Mayfield's $19 million.
Right. At this point, it's a standoff. And, I look at Drew Lock. I didn't like him coming out in the draft, and I've pretty much been proven right on that one over the last couple of years in Denver. And then obviously Sam Darnold looked good for about 3 games, and then the wheels completely came off to the point where, they were starting, who XFL would call MVPJ and PJ Walker. He was coming in because apparently he was better than Sam Darnold. So, getting a chance to see those quarterback options, I think if I'm the Browns, yeah, I agree with you. I think that, you're waiting and seeing and just saying, how comfortable are you starting these guys? Because, from a football standpoint and from an eye test, I sure as hell wouldn't be. And, if you're Seattle, are you going to Geno Smith? Yeah, okay, good luck with that one. You have fun with that. If you're the Panthers, and again, Matt Rule is in a year where this seat is already burning hot, and we're in May. And so at this point now, you're telling me that guy who needs to win to save his job is going to go to Matt Corral, somebody who's a developmental quarterback at this point? I don't see how that makes any sense whatsoever. And, I agree that, yeah, the Browns will eat some salary, but, if I'm Andrew Berry, like I mentioned with the first topic for this segment here, they're going to get a compensatory pick regardless. So, at minimum, if I'm Andrew Berry, I'm saying I'm not taking less than a 3rd round pick. If he's going on the free agent market, we're getting a 3rd regardless. So you better at least pay up that if I'm going to go ahead and pay for some of his salary here. So, I think that's a baseline. Do I think that Carolina can at this point? I don't know. Do I think that Seattle will? I don't know with that either, but I think that the desperation could play a factor.
Mac Robinson and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, we'll switch sides of the ball. We'll start talking a little bit about defense as well as priorities for the Browns remaining in this offseason. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery, Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for buying a fishing license. I want you to picture all the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot. Every dollar protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Visit takemefishing.org.
We continue talking Browns with Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. This is from NFL.com. Top remaining offseason priorities for each of the AFC teams. This one is not a surprise for the Browns, but I do like Jadeveon Clowney to the Browns. Call me maybe and bring your checkbook, please. Mac, that's pretty obvious. How badly do you think the Browns need Jadeveon Clowney?
Well, Dave, I think that they have a 6'5", 280-pound hole that's at edge rusher right now, and I think Clowney fits it just right. I think that for the Browns over the last, ever since they selected Myles Garrett, I think that they've been looking for that perfect complement. And, you've seen over the years, obviously they tried with Olivier Vernon for a couple of years there. Emmanuel Ogbo was there that first year as well. But at the same time, you've seen them try to work that out, and it just didn't fit perfectly. This past year with Jadeveon Clowney was about as perfect as a fit as I think you're going to get. And so I think that pairing him up and pairing up those guys, I think would be a phenomenal combination. And I don't think that it will be a one-year deal. And that's the other part that, makes this interesting, throughout this offseason, is that I don't think that it's just going to be a one and done for Clowney again. I think that this could be a 2, possibly 3-year deal, if we're looking at Jadeveon Clowney, because at that point you're locking in him at a salary and understanding that, hey, you know what? We have Clowney locked in opposite of Myles Garrett. We know that the cap is going to be going up. Maybe we have to pay Myles in a couple of years and maybe raise that price up for him a little bit, make sure that he's staying happy. But keeping all of that in mind, I think that Clowney is essentially just going to take his time. I don't think that all the money in the world can, unless you're throwing out $20 million to him at this point, I don't think he just wants to show up to the offseason activities. And hey, I respect it. You're good enough to the fact that you don't have to come into practice during the offseason, and you can just show up at the beginning of training camp, sign a deal for, multiple years at tens of millions of dollars, and roll out, you're good. So I think that his familiarity with Myles, I think that they're fine.
Yeah, and the other thing is when you are that big and your body gets beat up, anything you can do to take the stress off it, I'm all for it. This is from CBS Sports. Possible top 10 defenses. Possibly the Browns. So they list the Browns in there, and they say they were quite high on Cleveland's defense heading into last year, only to be disappointed. That defense did get better. They probably need to add more pass rush juice, Myles Garrett, but we just got done talking about that. But with even JOK in that back half, the corners and safeties are really good. The other thing I'd say about Myles and Jadeveon Clowney, I would tell Alex Wright to hang out with both of them and learn everything they do, because that's a guy coming from UAB, a non-Power 5. The two of them could very much help a young guy like that.
Yeah, and you look at Alex Wright, and he has all the physical tools that you want. And so, you know what? Hey, we'll go ahead and throw you in that Takk McKinley role. And that's where I think that him and even Chase Winovich, I think, are interesting options, to fill that Takk McKinley role. Obviously, he got hurt. He's out for the year pretty much. So, for him, getting a chance to fill in and get a chance to being around, those guys, I think is going to be a massive step for him, especially going forward because of that fact. And, I think that I understand that fact with the defense, and I think you hit it perfectly where, you look at this past season. Yes, they went ahead. They were better in the second half. They clearly struggled in the first half. But at the same time, I think that you saw them as they got comfortable with playing with each other. Going into last year, they were looking at 9 new starters. Now at this point, you're seeing them used to playing with each other. You're getting most of that unit back. So, at this point, I do think that, all of a sudden you're going to see that defense be able to play just as well, if not maybe a little like a step back, to kind of get used to playing with each other once again. But you have that camaraderie and you have that continuity, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, earlier in the show, we showed you the offense golfing out in the Bahamas. Deshaun Watson treated them. The defensive guys, they're not quite as flashy. This is from Perrion Winfrey. Perrion Winfrey and Alex Wright at Topgolf in Independence. So the defense a little more blue collar than the Bahamas, but still hitting it. He looks a little angry too.
I think I would be too. I'm curious about the stance more than anything. Like you got the feet pointed inward. Like that, I think that kind of challenges, Charles Barkley a little bit. You might not have the hesitation mixed in there, but again, I just think that the stance mixed in. We got to get some kind of goal. Can we get Jimmy Hanlon going with him, like working with him a little bit to work on the form? Like I feel like that needs to get improved, especially as he gets used to Cleveland.
You know what? You just keep getting after the quarterback and being the defensive hype man. We'll worry about the golf. Let the offense worry about the golf. The defense, they're focusing on stopping the opposing team. Mac Robinson and I are going to step aside, take one more timeout. Other side of the break, we'll take a look at some playoff odds. Teams that are most likely to make the playoffs that didn't make it a season ago. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. This one's from the Bleacher Report. 5 teams that improved their playoff odds the most this season. And it's kind of interesting because they say the Browns are one of the most. The Broncos the most. The Browns are second. You see the Super Bowl odds at plus 1,800. Of course, Broncos and the Browns also the teams that got Russell Wilson in the case of the Broncos, and Deshaun Watson in the case of the Broncos. Ravens were third most, Giants fourth most, Lions fifth most. But again, the Browns, along with the Broncos, team that best improved their playoff odds and their odds of winning the Super Bowl this season. So Mac Robinson makes sense. It's the quarterback position. Comes down to the quarterback position.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that you see is that's common across both is the fact that, hey, the top 2 teams just so happen to add 2 top quarterbacks. And, you see a team like the Ravens who, dealt with injuries last year. They already have their quarterback. They're up there near the top. But especially, again, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson are 2 of those quarterbacks that can really elevate the talent that's around them. They've been able to get the most out of their talent, but especially, for them to go into their new situations where, a lot of these skill positions are pretty much covered for the most part. You look at, a team like Denver where you have Jerry Jeudy, you have Cortland Sutton. Obviously, you had to move Noah Fant, but, you have Melvin Gordon coming back and you have Javonte Williams going into year 2. You're really set up to really elevate those players when you're having to worry about Russell Wilson. In the same way with Deshaun Watson, you already have 2 of the best running backs in the NFL in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And obviously you saw Dearness Johnson be able to perform well last year, and that's with subpar quarterback play. All of a sudden now, Deshaun Watson, he's able to, create even more opportunities because you have to respect the pass game no matter what. So all of a sudden that opens more lanes for Nick Chubb. And all of a sudden, too, somebody like Donovan Peoples-Jones, who, I saw in a tweet was regarded as one of the best deep threats and best, at creating big plays on offense. He's somebody who all of a sudden you throw that with Deshaun Watson. I'm feeling great with him on the outside. And I think that he can all of a sudden burst onto the scene this year. So combining all of that together, you have the quarterbacks that can not only play well, but also elevate the talent around them. And I think that that's ultimately why you saw them elevate those playoff odds and elevate those Super Bowl odds as well.
Okay, this one also from the Bleacher Report's kind of interesting. Every team's most exciting undrafted free agent. For the Browns, Isaiah Weston, Northern Iowa, large target, exceptionally naturally gifted, 6'4", 214. This is interesting. He posted the 7th best relative athletic score of any wide receiver over the past 35 years. So again, it's a guy that hasn't played at a real high level. Northern Iowa's, the football championship subdivision, so the lower Division I thing. But when you've got that kind of athletic ability, teams are going to take a little bit of time to see if you can develop.
Yeah, and Dave, I think the most important thing is that, you have those tools in the toolbox. And that's the one thing that, coaches will say, you can't teach size, you can't teach speed. And, Weston's somebody who has both of them. And, in going back and looking at old interviews and looking at tape of Weston, he was somebody who dealt with injuries in 2019 and 2020. But you saw in 2021, he was coming back to form as the season and as the games kind of went on. And you saw that same explosiveness that he had previously coming back to him after those injuries. So for him, I think that he's somebody who can really flush out a role for him. And really add on to this Browns, wide receiving core, especially for somebody, given the fact that, hey, look, every single year I know that we get excited about the drafted players. There's always some undrafted players that end up getting in the mix and end up, creating a name for themselves. I think Isaiah Weston is somebody who has the tools, and just because he came from a smaller school doesn't mean that he can't burst out onto the scene. I think that he's somebody who is very interesting to me, and I think could end up carving out a role for himself.
All right, this is also kind of interesting. This is from Warren Sharp Football, and this is via Twitter. Records versus teams with a winning record a season ago in 2021. You see the Titans, and then you got Rodgers, Brady, and Mahomes at the top. Browns were 2-8. And again, that they lost so many close games. I think that was kind of reinforcement that they needed to elevate the quarterback play.
Well, Dave, what's funny is that we talked about the two teams that improved their Super Bowl odds. Both of them were 2-8 this past year against winning teams. So, keeping that in mind, that's essentially a front office looking at their team saying, we can be a hell of a lot better. And what's the one area that we need to improve on? We need to improve from Drew Lock. We need to improve from Baker Mayfield. So, looking at that situation, both of them got aggressive. Both of them went out and upgraded their quarterback position, and now they're in a much better position where, hey, you know what? Even if they go ahead and lose, we cannot say that it's based on the quarterback play at that point. If Deshaun Watson's in the game, it's realistically going to be like, hey, you know what? Look, good on you. You earned this one. But, especially like you mentioned, Brady, Mahomes, Rodgers, all those guys up near the top, and that's what sets apart these teams. Is that the teams that are meant to win, the teams that are the best and at the top of the league, they beat teams that they're supposed to, and they step up in challenges, especially against winning teams where, hey, you know what, it might go 50-50, but more times than not, it goes their way. And that's why you see teams get aggressive and have to get after somebody like a Russell Wilson or like a Deshaun Watson, like we saw from Cleveland and Denver this offseason.
All right, before let's go, let's take a look. This is a tweet from Nick Padone, and it's, again, it's kind of interesting. Browns are favored in their first 4 games. They open up as betting favorites for their first 4 games. The interesting part of that will be if there's any type of suspension, but a good start is going to be the key, and you would think there would be some opportunity there if Deshaun Watson is going to miss those games.
Yeah, and especially, Dave, you got to start out right. And keep in mind, the Browns over the last 17 openers, 17 seasons, not a full regular season at this point. 17 openers are 0-16-1. They have yet to win a opener, period, in their season over the last 17 seasons. So for the Browns, it's just about getting that first win. And I think that's the biggest change, is that as long as they're able to set that tone in week one, I think that all of a sudden you can go ahead and see that this team can kind of get out to a quick start. And that's the important thing, is that not only is it getting those wins and getting that under control, but it's also about taking care of those games that you're supposed to take care of. Carolina is garbage. New York Jets, they're not a good team. I don't believe in Zach Wilson. Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think that, Kenny Pickett in his tiny little hands are going to be able to go ahead and get a hold on that win. And then Atlanta, you're starting Marcus Mariota. For the Browns, it's about taking care of business. If they're able to get out to a hot start, they're going to be set up pretty well. I don't care who's at quarterback. Those are teams and those are games that you're supposed to win. And at that point, I think that they're going to be able to take care of business. And then you're rolling into the tougher part of the schedule.
Mac Robinson from 92.3 The Fan. As always, Mac, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Of course, Dave. Always love the time. Thank you very much.
All right, Mac Robinson, make sure you listen out for him, 92.3 The Fan. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, Mark Munch Bishop, who hosts Guardians pregame festivities an hour before each and every game. He'll join us from over at Progressive Field. We'll talk a little Guardians. We'll talk a little Browns with Mark Munch Bishop straight ahead on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns briefly, then we'll transition into Guardians. But let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about the Browns defense.
Hey, this is Virgil. I have a nickname for the Browns defense. Okay, think of this. You take your cell phone, you're out in the middle of nowhere. What happens? You get no reception, nothing runs. Okay, so why not call it the dead zone defense? Appreciate your comment. Thanks.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Mark Munch Bishop. He's over at Progressive Field getting ready to do Guardians game day an hour before the first pitch. You can listen to him on WTAM. Munch, I appreciate you making some time for us. What do you like? What do you think? The dead zone, a cell phone reception play.
Always a pleasure to be with you. You know what? When I first saw it, when I first heard it, I'm like, but you know what? We can go on and on. I'll take any and all suggestions. It's pretty dang cool. You know what I mean? You're not getting anything going. Well, then it's a dead zone. I actually like it. Don't read into this, okay? Silent but deadly, okay? It's like Just do your job, get it done in a big, big way. But I'm sure we'll get a lot more. But, David, here's the thing. Let's get that dang defense a nickname this year.
I'm with you. And, along those lines, one of the guys they drafted, day three rookies who could compete for starting roles in week one. This from NFL.com. Perion Winfrey, 4th-round pick. Everything I have seen about him, Munch, I like, and I want to see more of him. If he can play at all, he is going to be a fan favorite rapidly.
Do you know what? Number one, who are the Browns tackles right today? I understand we're not even at mini camp yet, a ways off from training camp. But what do? You have to look ahead. I guarantee you, Kevin Stefanski and his coaches, they are looking ahead. Yeah, if the guy can play, pop him in there immediately. Now, he also realizes this is just not a young man filled with braggadocio. He also realizes that he's going to have to back up what he's been saying. And you know what? Put him on the spot. Toss him out there. One thing, David, and it happened again last year, and I fell prey to it too. It's like, wow, we've got depth along the defensive line. Well, one or two guys go down, and we found out we do not have depth along that line. But if the young fella could play, trot him out there, and I could just see some insanity happening as he takes the field for the first time.
Yeah, and again, I thought he'd go earlier in the draft, so hopefully that plays out. This one's kind of interesting as well. This is a tweet from Andrew Tobias from cleveland.com. Cleveland City Council has a resolution that calls for the First Energy name to be stripped away from Cleveland Browns Stadium. It's based on the ongoing litigation that that's going on with First Energy and the way it's funded and the way they're spending that funding to continue the name and the naming rights. It's a little bit of a mess there.
Well, bro, I'll tell you what. I was talking to producer extraordinaire Brian Walsh. You guys aren't setting me up on this, are you? Because there is no doubt in my mind with the pride we have for our great city and the pride that's going on. And you know what? Not jokingly, but on air, and I haven't gotten a cease and desist yet, I've been calling the stadium either the House of Bribes or the House of Black Money because those are two things that this company's been involved with. I mean, a travesty. A travesty with lawmakers, longtime lawmakers getting booted because they took cash from them. And then phony companies that try to take down Cleveland Public Power. Bro, I'll tell you something. Dennis Kucinich, when he was the kid mayor, might not have done some good things, but the bottom line is he stood steadfast and kept the Cleveland Public Power. Yeah, their name should not be on the stadium.
All right. Now let's move on to something that you're getting ready to do. Let's talk a little Guardians. So Terry Francona will not be in the dugout, missing it for what is termed a minor procedure. Let's hope the Hall of Fame manager gets back in the dugout quickly enough. You do have some good news regarding Jose Ramirez. Tell us about it.
Here is the lowdown. Okay, fouls a ball last night off his foot, totally in discomfort. It hurts. But come on, it's Jose, it's Josie, maybe because Mr. LaPara. Bottom line is, about an hour and a half ago, that he was penciled in the lineup. Then I heard about a half hour ago, he is in the lineup, and he's sore, but he's like, you know what? You need these 3 games. I mean, enough of fooling around with the bottom feeders because you don't want to become one yourself. So he needs to be out there. So he is penciled in the lineup to play. Yes, there will be some discomfort for him today when he goes to the plate, when he runs the bases, when he plays third base, but he will be there.
The other one, Josh Naylor, activated off the COVID list, not in the lineup, though.
You know, I've got to tell you something, bro. And I say this from my heart. Last night, I don't know if you saw what Trevor Story of the Red Sox did, 3 home runs. He was the best player in baseball last night. But there was a period of 3-4 games, and I'll take them, in a 162-game season where one guy could take over, where Josh Naylor, right before he went down with COVID, he was the best player in baseball. Got to have him back. He'll be there. And if he's activated, I look for him to play some type of role today for the team. What a treat, what a pleasure that young fellow's been. David, I'll tell you this, talking to players at BP, et cetera, talking to coaches, talking to people behind the scenes, no one felt that Josh would be this effective this early in the season. Did it seem like yesterday you could close your eyes and flash back? I mean, when he was on the turf in pain, he was writhing in pain. That looked like, Saving Private Ryan or something like that, invading the beach on D-Day. Yeah, he was hurt, shook it off, and was able to come back. And he's also one of those spiritual guys, fiery guys in the clubhouse, too, who gets guys going.
Yeah, he is somebody that is really easy to root for as well. Mark Munch, Bishop, and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We're going to continue talking Guardians. Munch is over at Progressive Field getting ready to host Guardians Game Day 1 hour before the first pitch. WTM News Radio 1100. Listen to him. Other side of the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Guardians and where they're going this year. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Guardians with Mark Munch Bishop. He will be hosting Guardians pregame festivities, WTM News Radio 1100, an hour before each and every game. Mark, let me ask you this. Indians, the pitching hasn't been exactly what you thought it would be, the starting pitching. A little bit of that is because they didn't have the full spring training. I think some of it, I think they miss Roberto Perez. I think Roberto Perez is that good of a catcher. I think he is every bit a Yadier Molina, that kind of guy.
You know, I'm going to tell you something, David. What a wise statement that you made. I want people to know, no, you don't owe me any money, okay? So I'm not trying to suck up to you. But no, you hit it on the head. Pirates grabbed him in a heartbeat. And he's one of those guys, I believe, his highest batting average with this team ever was .239. But the injuries kept rearing their ugly head. And sadly, what's happened to him with the Pittsburgh Pirates? Out for the year, ripping up a knee when he's rounding second base. He is that good. Now, Austin Hedges is also supposed to be a great handler of pitchers too. Hence, they're willing to put up with the batting average. It's funny, David, because you always thought the pitchers would be ahead of the hitters if there was some shenanigans going on in spring training, which there were. But no, I'm just a bit into the starters. And right now, I got to tell you something. Tristan McKenzie is the ace of the staff. Yeah. And who would have thought? And who fired him up last year? Tristan will be the first to tell you in Kansas City, as Salvador Perez was walking back to the dugout, Salvador yelled at him and said, "Hey, young fella, you're a bad blankety blank." And just like the movie Shaft, okay, I can't say what he called him, but Tristan said that went, Salvador's a Hall of Famer, hands down, 100-fold. And he said that just got him going in a different way. Motivation is special. Bieber, even though a little bit off the fastball, isn't worrying me. I mean, what can you say? Plesac, Quantrell, they pitched pretty dang good this week and didn't come away with anything.
Yeah, and again, let's see how it plays out. They didn't have the normal spring training, and I know everybody can say that, but with the Indians, they're very pitching-centric. All right, Munch, I want you to hear this one. This is a story on Steven Kwan, a guy that has played really well, is struggling a little bit, is hitting about $190 in May, but still hitting pretty well. Let's see how he adjusts. Take a listen to Steven Kwan and his journey to the big leagues.
Steven Kwan doesn't look like a prototypical professional athlete.
5'9", 170, half Japanese, half Chinese.
Asian American and small, especially as a kid, made his dream of a baseball career feel pretty distant.
And so when you have this dream in your head, now you go, okay, now who can I look up to and who can I compare to? And I looked towards MLB, and I really didn't see much.
There was Ichiro, of course, but he was a superstar from Japan, not a regular kid from California struggling with self-doubt, which chased Kwan all the way to Oregon State.
I thought I kind of pulled a fast one on the coaches, like they didn't really know the real me.
In Kwan's first game, he missed a bunt, missed a ball in the outfield, and struck out twice.
It just kind of fed into my biggest insecurities. I knew it. I wasn't supposed to be here. The charade's up.
It turns out there was no charade. Just a big league player trapped inside a kid who lacked confidence. A hitting coach rebuilt Kwan's swing, then did something even more important. He rebuilt Kwan's mind by selling him on meditation.
it's going to change your life. This is going to be the best thing for your life. And I'm like, what? Like, best for my life? Like, I don't want to be one of those guys sitting in a corner, like kind of like yogi style, right?
Today, Kwan works his mind almost as often as he works his body.
I shoot for like 4 to 5 times a week.
Steven Kwan, 5'9", 170, half Japanese, half Chinese, is giving the next generation of Asian Americans someone whose lead they can follow.
And Munch, the thing I would say is let him get some time to adjust. So the league has adjusted to him. Let's let him make some adjustments now and see how he can adjust.
There's no doubt the kid can play. David, you're going to like this. Going back to opening day, and I was rather blunt as, I can be with Skipper Tito Francona, because he was one of the first questions I asked him. I go, you don't like playing young kids early on. You don't like them playing in the colder weather. Don't like them playing for opening day. And he just said to me in that sincere, knowledgeable, but humble manner that Tito is, he just said, Munch, this one is the right thing to do. It feels right. I know it's right. And bang, he was right on that in a big, big way. David, you're going to like this and talk about giving back to the community. Actually, I just saw a release for Steven Kwan and Yu Chang tomorrow. Little Cleveland plug here for the city. They're going to appear at the Asian Fest at 37th and Payne from 11 to 12. The Guardians are going to have a little tent there, and they'll be signing autographs. So, they could be relaxing. They could be chilling. Heck, they could be having brunch somewhere. You want to get out and meet the people.
Mark Munch Bishop, I appreciate you carving out some time. I'll let you go. I know you got work to do. Mark Munch Bishop will be on the pregame show leading up to Guardians games an hour before first pitch. So you got a little bit of time to get ready and get it done. WTM News Radio 1100. Make sure you listen to him. Munch, as always, man, thanks for the time. Appreciate it, sir.
My pleasure. Take care. Always a pleasure to be on your show.
All right, Mark Munch Bishop, make sure you listen to him, Guardians pregame. Each week, in conjunction with the Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program, we recognize role model students from all across the state of Ohio. This week, we head to Little Miami High School and we meet Aidan Jones, a leader in the community, on the football field, and in the classroom. Aidan Jones from Little Miami High School, this week's Shining Star. Aidan Jones will graduate from Little Miami High School in a couple of days, but he's left his mark at the school in a number of ways. He was a 3-year starter on the football team. As a sophomore, he earned a starting spot in the safety, playing alongside his brother, who was 2 years older than him.
It was definitely surreal because, all throughout youth, you never get to play with him. He's 2 years older. So it's like, if it was a 1-year age gap, maybe we could find a way to play together, but it never happened. And then going into sophomore year, I still didn't think it was going to happen because I wasn't in that safety role until that first game hit and the starting safety ended up getting hurt, and then I filled his role. And it was just crazy going out there. Every game you look over and it's your brother. It just doesn't feel real.
Junior year saw Jones take over as the leader of Little Miami's football team. He stepped in as the quarterback, and the fit was natural.
He stepped up to be the quarterback of our program, knowing the offense inside and out, knowing the defense inside and out, and pretty much being able to break down film just like a coach would on my staff. Work ethic is very, very good. Like I said, he can go toe-to-toe with pretty much any one of my coaches as well as myself when it comes to X's and O's on the board or breaking down an opponent or, stepping up in the weight room and challenging some of his teammates.
I've been watching film since I've been playing kindergarten. My dad we always filmed our games, and it's just something that I've always done. And then whenever I have free time, during classes, when I get home, anything, just watch some film while you're doing nothing else. It's interesting to watch, and then I think when it pays off on game day, that's what makes you want to watch it more. When you go out there and you know what's coming next because you've been watching film all week.
Jones will also be missed in the hallways around the school. He graduated with a 4.1 grade point average and earned academic scholarships as well as an athletic football scholarship to the University of Indianapolis.
All 4 years I've been honor roll. I've been honors classes, taken an AP class. Something that my parents instilled in me, academics come first before anything else. So I focused on academics my first 3 years. I've definitely slacked off a little bit this year, but still in some honors classes, and I don't know. I took it very seriously. I got a good scholarship off my academics going to college as well.
His academics have stood out. It's gotten him quite a few scholarship applications in there and some scholarship money from the University of Indianapolis. I've had him in class 2 times, and he's done excellent in both of my classes, and I know that the other teachers in the school love him.
In college, he plans on majoring in sports management. He will also be one of the quarterbacks competing on the Greyhounds football team.
I expect a lot of putting in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and it's going to be fun because I love football. And I was talking to the coaches, and the first 3 weeks you're there is fall camp, and they said from sun up to sundown, it's football.
The Little Miami community as a whole will also miss Aidan Jones. He and a teammate were heavily involved in raising money for the Leukemia Society. And in fact, they raised over $25,000 with year-long events.
We did a lot of events. We set up at the Monkey Bar and Grill, which is a local restaurant, and we got raffle baskets together from different places. We'd have people come in and doing raffle tickets. We went door to door selling, just asking if people want to donate, what we're here for, the foundation. We did a Easter egg. It was around the time of Easter last year. We did an Easter egg hunt for people, so we sell like 30 eggs for like $20 or something like that, and you fill the eggs with candy, and then you go and lay the eggs out for people so they don't have to do it.
He's also been a role model for our football program down at the youth levels, being a volunteer coach, stepping up and helping those kids out and doing everything that he can to help us.
If you know a student who deserves recognition, we want to hear about them, and you can nominate them completely online. Go to OhioLottery.com. Find the About section. Click on Partners in Education. There you will see links to nomination forms. Nominate that student as an academic all-star, and they could end up being featured as our next shining star. Well done, Aidan Jones. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guest, G. Bush, the host of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and Casey Kinnaman from Dog Pound Daily. That is Monday at 4 o'clock. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend, everybody.